Aha. Okay. So I come in here and I type tax preparation services. His prefix is 54. And it says this U.S. industry comprises establishment except for offices of CPAs. Certified public accountants do not fall within this designation. In providing tax return preparation services, also bookkeeping, billing, payroll services, basic tax law, and filing requirements. So if you provide that service, here is your NAICS code. So his NAICS code is 541213. But here's some derivatives of that, or subsets. If you are an actual certified public accountant, then it says your NAICS code is this one. You see this one? 541211 instead of 213. If you're also providing payroll services, then your NAICS code is 541214. The purpose of having this information is because you want the reader, as well as yourself, to know how you perform compared to others in the marketplace based on this industry classification code. How do others in the market actually participate? When you do the research section of a business plan, you need to start in what I consider a funnel. You need to do a funnel. So you want to start mass or a general market. Typically that means from coast to coast, or industry to coast to coast, or continent to continent, if it's relative in that space. So you start off with how all the top players are on the national level, and then you kind of like drill down through the funnel to your local footprint. And that's when you start looking at local competitors. But the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're in the right industry pipeline. You want to be sure that you've identified the right industry pipeline. So make a note of NAICS.com. You should be able to go directly to your device, type that in, use the keywords, or you could go in your book if you actually pulled it down. If you didn't, if you downloaded that already, it's on page 38, I believe, in your book.
Do you have any idea, Laura, sorry, when they are going to send those to us? Were they mailing them to us this time? Do you have any idea, since it's virtual?
Yeah, he said that they were going to mail them, but he was certain that he promised me that you guys also had the link in the curriculum. And Session 3 is really big, and I wouldn't print it either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no way I'm going to print it, but
yeah. But I'll show you what the table looks like. So can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the prefixes, and they give you all the classification codes. They're all 2-digit numbers. But again, you can go directly to NAICS.com and just plug in those search words that you need. If you know your prefix, then type it in. If 56, 54, 46, 43, and it'll give you all the industries that really participate in that. But if you don't want to do a lot of drill through, just type the keywords of your organization, how you participate, and it'll take you straight there. So I know for a fact that 541213 is probably the legitimate space that Walter would participate in. So it says, if you are providing income tax compilation services, income tax return and preparation services, or tax return preparation services, this is your NAICS code. It also goes on further to tell me who the top participants are in the marketplace. So here's the thing. If your market was relatively new to you and you were trying to jump into, like I have a young lady who's trying to open up, she wants to do stationery manufacturing. She wants to manufacture her own stationery. And I'm like, so you want to design your own stationery? She's like, no, I want to be like Boise. I want to be like Mead. I want to be like, I was like, so do you know what that is exactly? That's a mill. It's a paper mill manufacturing company. So you need to understand what their core product is and what all the subcategories are. So what do they source directly? So you need to totally understand that. So she was very confused when I said your business is not stationary. If you are really trying to be, you understand if you're going to be boys, or do you need to understand how you participate in the market? So for all intents and purposes, I can look at the top participants here, and I can see that H&R Block, obviously, if they come in number 1, and then Amscot and Block Financial, I know exactly who these people are. So obviously, I would feel comfortable that he was in the right space. If I wanted to illustrate further how much depth I understood about the market, I could come in here and I would copy and paste exactly the 541213 and say, on a national level, here are the participants in the marketplace for tax preparation services throughout the US. though their services are more temporary or seasonal, we can identify that their revenues are, and here's the information, check this out. H&R Block, they have 93,000 employees, typically about 300 on site. That's probably just a corporate office. But they bring in over $3 billion a year doing tax preparations. Now, Walter would never try to illustrate that he also will do $3 billion, but he could start the conversation by indicating on a national level, here what tax preparation services yield. All right. And the next code and blah, 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 blah. So on and on. You guys follow me so far?
Yes.
That's data that goes directly in your general market analysis. So when you do a general market analysis, you start top line and then you drill all the way down to a local space. So NAICS.com, plug in your prefix if you know it, not type in your keywords. Now, I'm going to say to Walter, yeah. H&R Block is a huge franchise outfit. So that franchise outfit really isn't your real core competition. How does that help you flesh out what your revenue expectations can be from designing or writing an actual business plan? That just doesn't help you. What else do you need? So I would probably do a Google search if I didn't know already. A simple Google search.
What? When? I don't know. So when I get out of school, we'll talk.
And I'm going to say tax preparation in 48214. I'm just going to type a Detroit area code. So there's United Taxes on Mac. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
There's Turner Tax and Accounting Services. There's First Option Services. What I really want to know is how well do they perform? What information would you feel is relevant in writing your business plan? What do you need the reader to understand, and what should you understand? What might be the purpose of doing a competitive analysis? Anybody? Do you know why you would need to look at local competitors? Why is it relevant to not only look at the national and then drill down to a local level? What would be the benefit or the purpose of that?
I would want to know if my business will be sustainable.
Right.
You know, if it's a market for it. That would be number one for me.
Okay. And you would also probably want to see how other people are participating in the marketplace, because again, there are trends and standards and norms based on each individual classification. So if you came to me and said, I'm going to make $1 million as a startup tax preparation service, I now need to benchmark that to see if that's really true. So I see here, and I'm going to leave this screen. I'm not going to close it, but I'm going to show you another one. And I'm going to show you some research, and you can write this down. This is a site you really want to have access to. You may not be able to get it directly. You may have to go to Westfield, because I understand they've migrated away from Size Up. Are you guys familiar with Size Up, the business analytics or intelligence system? Can you guys see my screen where it says Size Up?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so I'm already signed in. I'm grandfathered in because I've been in this for about 11 years. But if you look right here on the screen, I'm a sort of like, you see this section here where my mouse is? If you type sizeup.com, it's going to tell you that you can't get in because it's closed down. You can go to Westfield and set up a free access account. Do not activate the account until you are ready to do your research, because you only have like 30 days. So don't set up the account thinking you can just get to it at any time. You activate it when you're ready to dig in and pull down the data. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And Size Up is going to ask me, what industry are you interested in looking at? And I'm going to type in tax preparation. So I'm going to say tax return preparation and filing. I want to look at participants in the city of Detroit. It's going to offer me several things. When you set this up, you're going to love this, even though you only get it maybe for 30 days. They may have extended it. Someone told me due to this COVID, they've kind of like made it open. I hope that's the case. So notice I have the opportunity to select my business. I can look directly at competition, or I can select advertising. What would be the best method of advertising? But because I'm doing general research, I want to see how I stack up if I give them some guesstimations around my revenue. So if for Walter, if he said, I think we can do $330,000, even though we're going to be a startup organization. Hold on a second, I lost my so let's see what they give us. Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. What can you tell me by just looking at this diagram? What does this particular pictorial tell you? Is $330,000 annually a realistic number for a small startup?
No.
Not at all, right?
No.
Not even. So it says here that the medium national for Detroit is $81,000 for a startup or for a small tax return or tax preparer. They're making about $81,000.
What?
How about that?
Yeah.
In Detroit. In Wayne County, it's about $105,000.
Yep.
In Detroit, Livonia, it's still about $105,000. For the state of Michigan, it's $111,000. For the United States, is about $132,000. So if I were Walter and I plugged into my business plan that I'm going to make $330,000, do you guys understand when you take your business plan to a bank or to a lender, that underwriter already knows this?
Yes.
Somebody's giving reverb. If you can just mute your line. Walter, I think it's you. So I would not start off by saying to the reader, to the audience, that Walter Reed Incorporated will start a brand new tax service and we anticipate $330,000 in our first year of business, because look, it tells me it's not likely. You're 98% above the actual medium income or revenue for that particular type of business. I could go deeper into this same size up. And obviously, because I'm a 2019, there's no benchmark because I haven't even had a full calendar year of business. You're 99% of all the regular startups. But what I can do is ask them, well, what's the average salary for a participant in this space? I'm going to put $35,000, and it'll tell me how close you are, how far off you are. Oh. So the tax service provider is probably making on average about $27,381. So you are 17% above the average for the metro area. So, but that's only for your business. But if you look at it for Wayne, it's 56,000. For Detroit Metro, meaning more than just Detroit, is 42,000. For the state of Michigan as a whole, is 34,000, and then 27. So on the national level. So each of these screenshots would be directly in my business plan. I can anticipate the average income for a participant working at Walter Reed and Incorporated to yield blah, 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 blah. I anticipate my annual income to be about $111,000 based on the current average for small participants in the marketplace. And if you go through Size Up, there's some other things on here to show you per capita, turnover, burn rates, all that good jazz, more of an HR thing. But because we're looking at some other specifics, I also want to see who are the competitors in the marketplace. So I went back to the top of Size Up. I first started off with the My Business, and now I'm selecting the category that says competition. So it gives me an entire list of who the participants are. We know Liberty to be a franchise. I don't know what Accurate Plus is. It could be or it may not be a franchise. But obviously Liberty, Jackson Hewitt is a franchise. I don't know about Riley's, but they may be a franchise. We know H&R Block is, but they have over 1,000, can you see this? Over 1,424 listings of other tax service providers. So I'm going to grab Riley's Tax Service in Detroit. I now have their address of 2790 West Grand Boulevard. Please stay with me on this because I love this part. I love this part. I'm going to go to this other third-party site, and I am going to type in Riley's Tax Service. You guys can see me on Manta.
Yes, yes.
Make a note of manta.com. It's really, I should be ashamed of myself for knowing that it exists, but I'm not. I want you to go directly to manta.com, make a note. So I'm going to type in Riley's Tax Service and see what I get, and see if we can find out some stuff about Riley's Tax Service.
Girl, you know he working from home.
I have a Riley's Tax Service in DeWitt, Michigan, in Dexter, Kansas, in Indianapolis, and Charlotte. So let me try it again without the apostrophe because that person didn't list it with an apostrophe. See, if I really wanted to do a snoop on a person who I thought was really my competitor, this is how I would do it. No, not Delaware. I said Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Bam.
Oh, in Detroit.
Let's find out what we get for Riley's Tax Service in Detroit. Let's see what kind of information we get. So they've been in business since 1990. Thank you. Their annual revenue is what?
32,622.
Yes. So they're a tiny little outfit. They really are just a seasonal tax preparation service. And they hire for that period of time just 7 people, but they're only making 32,000. But they made 32,000 in what, a 3-month period? That's probably not all bad, but they only made 32,622.
1990.
Since you're right, so they only have a seasonal outfit, right?
Right.
Check this out. I can find out what NAICS codes they participate under. So 541213. Is that a person that he could use as a competitor? Walter, you on, right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
We're doing your competitive analysis and you didn't even know it.
Right.
Oh, great.
So in his business plan, he would actually create a chart. He would chart at least Riley's, who's been in business since 1990 with the similar NAICS code, right, as a tax preparation service, only generates 32,622. But you also need to be able to defend the fact that they're probably just a seasonal, you know, part-time pop-up tax preparation service. And they could very well just be home-based.
Right.
Which is easy to do by Google Maps. Plug in the address that they're registered under and look at where they operate from.
My girl. We gonna find off.
Right. Right.
If you're gonna do the research, do it right. So on a national level, where H&R Block is bringing in $3 billion, my friend Riley's Tax Service is bringing in $32,000 in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back over to Size Up, and I'm gonna look for another one. So here's an Easy Tax Service. Easy Tax Service. They are a corporation and they're on Dexter. So I'm going to jump into Manta again.
Okay.
And I'm going to check out what's going on with
Easy Tax Service.
Yeah. Let me see what I get. Great way to just do some general market information. And I'll tell you how this site came about and how it's easy for us to assess.
Big Beaver and 7 Mile was Dexter.
All right, so we are a privately held company. That's the only thing they've said thus far. It doesn't tell us anything further. So they haven't allowed us anything further.
I know.
But I've got something for that. So Easy Tax Service. I'm going to jump into another screen that I happen to have access to and see if I can get the goods on them. Because you want to look on a local level, at least 3 or 4 different entities to get a feel for their performance. You don't want to just blow it out based on what you see on a national level, because national doesn't automatically give you an indication about performance.
Right. That would be my problem, I think.
Yeah, you'd never want to look at something on a national level when you know that there are geographical changes or limitations. You know, like for you, hair salons are regulated in the state of Michigan, but they're not in Ohio. So
Right.
a licensed cosmetologist doesn't need to be licensed. So
Really?
Easy Tax isn't showing up here.
Laura, when you're finished with this, can I provide another resource to everyone too for this too?
For sure.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm looking for his zip code, 48206. So I'm gonna go into 48206 and look for companies. I want business, Easy Tax. Let's see what we get. And just because they're a tax preparation service doesn't automatically mean that they are operating like legitimate businesses.
Okay.
And when I get this deep into an actual review, this information is pulled and accumulated from the Duns and Bradstreet. So if you're not trade credit worthy, if you don't have some public record, then you don't pop up here, which means to me you're really small potatoes, because you don't have any lines of credit or debt or anything that becomes part of public record. So I would bypass Easy Tax as being someone that I would look at as a benchmark, because they're probably just one of those hang up a shingle for the season, rent a little space, like the little pop-up Halloween stores that pop up for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
They're probably operating like that. So I could take more time and dig through Size Up all the way through 1,400 different listings. I could just keep going page after page. And I'm not going to do Liberty Tax or H&R Block, because we don't benchmark franchises, because they are not the same as what Walter would bring to the table. So I'm gonna look at one more in Highland Park, Pioneer Tax Company.
Oh yeah, I know them.
See if we can get some information on Pioneer. So I'm gonna go to Manta for Pioneer Tax near Highland Park.
I think they closed.
They're out of business?
I think so, but check it anyway. I think they did.
I mean, if you pay the annual subscription to have Dun and Bradstreet, the services for Dun and Bradstreet, you could legitimately just type in the Dun's request, and it'll tell you if there are any trade credit or lines open for that particular business.
Okay.
Oh wait, not Highland, Michigan. I need Highland Park.
Highland Park. Yeah.
Hold on, I need to do it.
Well, there's the other location in Illinois too.
Oh, they have more than one? Did you see it?
Yeah.
I was moving too fast. Sorry.
Yeah, the one on Illinois. Yeah, that's all right.
Well, let me just say near Detroit. Let me see what we get.
Trade. Tax.
Let's see what we get.
Tax.
It's the Illinois address.
Yeah. So they block their information too, because it's public, so our annual income is not provided. But let's go into A to Z and see what I can get. What I love about this particular database, it's sponsored through your actual public library. And if you sign up and use your library card, you actually may have access to this without needing to go through your research, the research desk. I get to have it because I have collegiate credentials, so I can see it on a different level. But so here's Tax Pioneer. Says they have 6 employees. You see here in the corner.
Oh yeah.
6 employees, and what's the annual revenue?
385.
385.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, established.
So here is the business I would want to benchmark, Walter, if I were you. I would now put
Yeah, I know
all my
that.
focus on
Mhm.
assessing and pulling down all of their core competencies to say, if I want to get to 385, although it's a private business, and it may be 385 all up from multiple locations. It may not be one location generating that,
Right.
but I could come in here and find out. Let me, 48238, let's see. I mean, you can get lost in here just digging up, trying to get relevant information. But it's important that you do the due diligence and digging through and data mining. So did I type it wrong? I don't think I did. 423. Anyway, let me just type in Pioneer Tech. Let's see what we got. So you may be right that they're out of business because I'm not getting a current record for what's going on with Pioneer Techs. But anyway.
Try Tax Pioneer.
Say it again.
Try Tax Pioneer. Reverse it.
Okay. And if I was dead set on digging through this further, I would go then to Michigan.gov and pull up the business entity search to dig for, to find their legitimate name and to find out if it's a DBA or they're operating under a different name. I would do that as well. But for all intents and purposes, you guys want to use the funnel approach. So you look at NAICS code generators and who the top performers are. You dig in, you find out how much income they're actually generating on what level. And then you go into an organization like a Size Up that'll do business intelligence analytics, and they'll tell you who the other participants are in the marketplace. And you toggle back and forth between something like a Manta, if you have access to Duns and Bradstreet, if you have access to Cengage, or even your research library can give you some other data specific points. Because what you're looking for is the number of employees that the business has. You want to know what their annual revenues are. You also need to understand whether or not their market is, you want to know if their clientele is within a 5-mile radius. You kind of like want to know that too, right? And so I'm going to take you to the next thing. So when you are looking at a tax preparation service, and even if you're trying to service B2B and B2C clientele, you have to have access to population data. You can get it in Cengage. Cengage is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to show you a resource that I think is just very intuitive and easy to use. Make a note of it. So far you have Manta.com, you have SizeUp.com, you have NAICS.com. You should also write down USPS, the United States Postal Service. You want to come in here and go under where it says business, and then down to where it says using EDDM. You can go to the EDDM online tool. And because I'm recording this, I'll give it to you and show you the steps all over again. So I'm going to type in, I think one of their zip codes was 48238. I'm going to pop this in. And what's really significant about this particular space is I can say, I'm interested in learning about the individual residential households, their income, the number of people in a household. And so I can come in here and tell this screen, I want only residential households right now. For a tax return, and I'm looking for a different demographic, I'm gonna go maybe to those who are pre-retired.
65.
So maybe I want to go, because 65, they may still be working. So I've asked this tool to give me that information. You see how it changed here from age, it was 55 to 44 or 25 to 44. Now it's age
Yes.
25 to 64. And then I just pull this drop down window down. You see that? So let me explain to you how you pay attention to this route. So if I'm going to be providing tax service, I gotta, let people know I'm in the neighborhood based on where my location is. I have to find out what the average household is and whether or not these people are likely. I mean, if they're making less than 15,000, they probably aren't filing tax returns. I'm making some assumptions. I don't know. If you're making less than 15,000, what's the purpose of your tax return? Maybe you got some money coming back. Maybe that's why you file taxes. But look at this. Look at this first route. So for the zip code of 48238, route number 1, there are 327 registered home addresses that the postman has to deliver mail to. And 25 to 64 was my age demographic. That means only 50% of those residential homes fall within the ages of 25 to 64. You guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So for the age 25 to 64, only 50% of the routes designated fit that requirement. In this first route, the households are averaging 2.47 people per house. And the income average is what? 14,000.
Yeah.
So these might be my easy file people. They're certainly not doing complicated tax filings. And I guess, for you, Walter, you have to determine which of these people are the targets that you are interested in going after.
Right. Those are probably earned income credit files.
So now you get the gist of it. You can scroll all, there are 28 routes in just the zip code 48238. And if I know by doing some of my research and identifying who uses H&R Block services or who uses a Liberty Tax Service. Remember last week when we did the business model canvas? I said to you, you understand who these customers are and what service are you providing to answer a void, to fill a void for them. So this is how you would need to kind of like create that avatar. So are they low income people? Are there multiple people living in a household? Are they educated? Would you, looking at this screenshot, would you make some assumptions about a person's education?
Yeah.
Yes. There's a direct correlation.
Based on income.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes.
What does the cost mean?
Say it again.
What's the last cost column?
Yep. So I'll show it to you. So Walter could say, I want these people where the average household income is 47,000. I want to help maximize their tax return. So I selected route number 5. Route number 5 says there are 399 addresses here. It would cost me $76.21 to mail them to the 399. Any literature I wanted to mail directly to that population.
Okay.
Right.
It is a specialty piece of mail. It's not traditional, not letters. You don't address it to an individual. It's almost like bulk mail. Yeah, residential. You could go back and include residential and businesses in that zip code, but if you know who your target market is, you probably would be looking for B to C. Any questions on how to use this particular data in your business plan?
No.
So in addition to using the United States Postal Service, because you need to do this whole funnel approach, you want to be able to come and get a little bit more information. I could come to datausa.io, and I would probably, right after I listed how my business performs on a national, compared to a national brand, according to Data USA, I can find out what the average household income is. I can find out the skill sets, how many people are educated. I can find out a whole lot of stuff just from this one snapshot. So it's saying that the population in Detroit, as of the report of this date, if you scroll down to the bottom, it shows you the date, 672,681. The poverty rate is 37.9, which of course has a lot to do with this COVID-19 thing. So
Right.
don't be
Yes.
afraid about that. But the median property value is 51,000. The number of employees in the city alone is 249,000. The median age is 35.
Mm-hmm.
So this data point would give you some additional information that you can pull down and download it and put it directly into your business plan.
Okay.
So it shows you the data charts right in here. It says, you can download the data sets and just pull them right down. Now, doing the research, you still have to make the actual business plan read smoothly, right? It needs to read like, it can't be jagged or disjointed. It needs to flow.
No.
So
Yes.
creating the right narrative helps you to create that. You need the data in order to fill the voids in the conversation, but you also need to be able to make it flow.
Okay.
I'm going to take a real quick jump over to a business plan that I'm in the middle of, and I'll show you how I've included some of those points. Now, we're writing here a business plan for eatery that has a shared kitchen component. So it's a two-phase business model. She wants to have a 3-day-a-week eatery where she's doing carry out only. And then she wants to have at least between 4 to 8 kitchens that are that she leases out in hourly components.
Okay.
So let me look at the part I want to show you. So here I'm asking her to list all of her suppliers. We have her hours of operation. Your SWOT analysis, the same thing that you completed. Hers just looks a little bit different.
Opportunity, weakness.
Yep. So we went in and we grabbed the actual market data, and we found out how many food participant businesses, different ones that are food, whatever. And then what I'm looking at here are the actual segmentations. How many of them are going to be caterers? How many people are just looking for commissary for training purposes? And how much of her market will be for the consumption of the eatery? So let me get down to that part I want to show you. And then here is her competition. So we looked at all the shared kitchens, we wrote down their location, and we thought what was really interesting was the availability, because you can't get to Eastern Market to use their kitchen because it's beyond capacity. There's a wait list for it.
Okay.
So we went and we researched all the other shared kitchen services that are available in the city of Detroit. So we're looking at Brightmoor. They only have open in limited hours, meaning they don't have a 24-hour service. Bethany hasn't even opened and won't open until the fall. Matrix offers a single kitchen, but it has limited hours. Grandma has a 24-hour membership based only, so that's probably her only real competition. Cooking with Q is open 24 hours, and the kitchen is currently available right downtown Detroit. So when you do your competitive analysis, you needed to have already done some research on how they perform in the marketplace. If I come back up to the top and I haven't finished her plan, I'm looking at this particular site. Let me get there. Are you gonna open? I'm looking at this particular site because after benchmarking, I found that the best model happens to be in LA.
Oh, wow.
The best commissary kitchen that has a 3 revenue point. Can you guys see this crafted kitchen?
Yes.
So the crafted kitchen sells memberships. So if you need an 8-hour or 6-hour engagement, it's the frequency. So you know you're going to need at least 8 of those in a month. Then you buy your membership based on the number of uses you need. So they have a test kitchen, a shared kitchen, a private kitchen, and then one that they use for demos. So this is the model that I like. Why do I like it? Because I did the same research I just did for all the rest of it. And I found out that last year, they've only been open for 18 months, but they grossed $1,038,000.
Wow.
So this is
That's
the model
good.
that I'm going to use to benchmark her stuff. Now, let's be clear. LA is 3 times the size of Detroit.
Yes.
But with the number of kitchens and touch points and using the membership model, I believe that she can get really close to $300,000 on a shared kitchen philosophy. So now I'm able to back into her business plan by doing the right research. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, cool. If your particular business is a more complicated and difficult business to and trends are changing drastically and consistently, you might want to go to IBIS World. Can you guys see the screen?
No, where you at?
Let me get there. I think when I move to too many screens, it doesn't catch up automatically. IBISworld.com. Typically, if you start off with the Google, I love the Google. If you start off with the Google and ask for international data points or trends in the market, you can get all of that from IBIS, but they want you to pay for it.
Okay.
So why pay for it when you can go to the Google?
Yes.
I'm going to go to the Google and I'm going to say trends in tax preparation industry. I should get, look at all this fantastic stuff.
Oh, wow.
The IRS has a paper on it. The CPA Journal has a paper on it. Barron's has a paper on it. And I'm looking for the higher level, more vetted sources. So I'm looking at PR Newswire. I'm looking at accountingdepartment.com, Trend Hunter. I'm going to grab all of these and I'm going to reference what they're saying are the changes in the marketplace. And I'm going to make sure that I tell that story in my business plan. I'm going to illustrate that in the business plan. According to Inc.com, the new service and the requirements for have this, certain PIN number as a vetted IRS service agent. Now, blah, 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 blah. There's some additional trainings, blah, 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 blah. But notice that the very first place that popped up with research is IBISworld.com when I went to the Google. So these are all points that need to be referenced in your actual business plan. And it looks like a whole lot of stuff, and it may seem somewhat mundane, but you need to be able to do the general market study. You want to be able to tell them on a global level or national level, here's how the industry participates. You can even tell them in the state of Michigan, but in all reality, unless you're offering something that has a greater reach than like a 5 or 10 mile radius, Michigan isn't relevant. Your research is relevant and more germane to your footprint.
Okay.
Now, if you're trying to service the entire state, then you need to also put in Michigan relevant data points. But if Detroit is where you're operating and where you're competing, then Detroit becomes your focus. And you spend a lot of time indicating and, I want to say pontificating around your capacity to serve this market and how well you truly understand what's required.
Okay.
All right, so I've gone through all the initial data points and everything that I think you need to see. You can Google trends in the industry. I mean, seriously, Google has become, I can tell you academically, I would tell my students if they told me they Googled something, I would mark their paper. They could probably come back and get me now. I would mark their paper like incomplete or you didn't do your work. Who told you about the Google? You better go to industry trade publications. You better go to, specialized indexes. You better get it from the related sources that we all understand. And if they don't have an ISBN number behind it, and it's not a relevant business source, and we would say that. But the Google
has everything now.
The Google has nearly, you can walk through it and get what you need from the Google.
Yes.
I actually use the Google.
Amazing.
Things change. That's all I can say.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
So
they do.
I'm gonna get. Can you guys see this PowerPoint?
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Not
Right
yet.
now.
Let's get there. Let's get there
Okay.
because I want to get back to the PowerPoint. So that research phase is a very, very, very important component, and you can't research enough. Most people say, well, how long does it take to do the research? Honestly, it'll take you somewhere between 6 to 8 hours to do all the relevant research if you are going to be studious and disciplined in gathering the right content.
Mm.
You don't just grab links and make that your data point and your source. Why? Because a lot of businesses do that and they fail by just going to the first thing that they see. And Manta is not a qualified reference link because they're only pulling down trade credit worthy things. So if I go and open up a utility bill under best practices, because I had to do a business application, they're pulling little small tidbits from the application and making it part of the public record. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I had to
Yes.
fill out a credit report for the business, and they were able to pull some things and learn a few things, and then you need to still yet match it up. Wait, Boyd, you wanted to tell people something.
Yes. So because I'm starting off as a e-commerce company, there's a website that I use in my research to kind of get the analysis of who I'm marketing to, and it's similarweb.com. So if you go there and you type in, for example, H&R Block, then they'll pull like what type of person goes to that site, where the traffic comes from. Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? A bunch of different resources to kind of see the traffic that comes to their website. So I use that to kind of formulate who I'm marketing to and what type of traffic and what type of ads I may need to run and where to get certain amount of traffic. So that's just another website. Yes, similar, SIMILAR web, WEB.com.
Okay. Cool.
And so if you know for a
Thank
fact
you.
that you have online or e-commerce, you definitely need to use something like that.
Okay.
Where none of my research would have given you that level of B2B online or e-commerce traffic. This is looking at other competitors in the marketplace, where she's giving you direct market opportunity. Which leads me to my next thing. How to research what is happening in your industry. So there's you can go to dogpile.com, you can go to findarticles.com, you can do what we just talked about, typing in any search engine trends in the industry and finding out what you need. You can use inc.com, again, the IBIS.com, bizstats.com, or census.gov. But let me preface this conversation with secondary data has drill points, meaning that some of it could be very far removed from how your actual operation will operate. I'll use Lori's for instance. What is the performing arts market like in Wayne County compared to Kent County? Is there a huge difference? Between Wayne County and Kent County, right? So if you were to pull down some of the funding criteria, you would find out that Grand Rapids and Kent County and Holland outperform Metro Detroit, even though we have all these other performing arts centers, because they have a much more eclectic market for performing arts from a funding standpoint. So you can't use secondary data just based on what they say. You have to have a more germane, relevant, realistic outlook from where you are in the marketplace. You can't look way up in the sky. You've got to make it relevant to where and how you operate in the market. So if you grab Stratford's business model and said, I'm going to bring Stratford to Detroit, yay, it may not work the same way.
I see.
Primary research is where you, the individual, are now attempting to touch your first line market, meaning the direct participants that you need to deal with, either your suppliers directly or your potential customers directly. So you need to be able to reach them even in COVID-19 by doing some level of surveillance. So how do you surveil? How do you surveil the people who need your service, the business model that you're bringing to fruition? How do you surveil them? How do you know where they are, how to reach them, and all the rest of it, other than what Boyd just said? How do you reach them directly versus, again, looking at secondary data? Because what she provided you is still secondary because you haven't reached them directly. Anybody got any ideas on how to do a survey right now?
Would this fall where trade shows and sampling and
Yes,
things of
ma'am.
that nature?
Yep. So notice that I said implement a pitch and capture. If you had a tangible physical product, and even though it's COVID-19, if you pre-package them and said, I'm going to do a video tutorial, pay attention to this. I'm going to do a video tutorial, and I am bundling up these small little good pieces of goodness for Mother's Day. And if you're watching this tutorial and you send me your email address, you'll enter into a registration, and all you have to do is take this 5-minute survey, and I'll send you a care package. So I'm doing this video tutorial. I upload it to YouTube. I upload it to Facebook. I upload it to Instagram. And I ask the market to participate. If you fill out the survey, I will give you this care package. This care package would then give me an opportunity to find out how engaged you are with my particular product. From that, I find out if they were comfortable with the pricing. I find out if they thought whatever was it tasty or fragrant or aromatic, depending on what it is that you're taking to market. Again, that's a very useful method if you have a tangible offering. You can do the same thing for service. You can do the same thing for service. It's just how you word it. So Miss Reed could say, I am a 20-year commercial real estate investor or realtor, and I've decided to open up a unique version of salon suites catered to individual stylists who are looking for their own home away from working in someone else's booth, rental spot, or whatever. So she could say, I'm asking you to give me some feedback. How many shampoo bowls do you need? How many outlets will you need? I need to design this based on how I can service you. She could do a big call to action and link a quick Google survey or a Facebook poll or a Twitter poll asking people to chime in and to participate. You could, to actually create a survey, you could use SurveyMonkey. They'll provide you a link and you can upload that to a Facebook page. You could create your business Facebook page. You could create an actual Twitter poll by creating a business handle and using that to data mine. Be careful when you set these pages up because people want to see two-way traffic. They don't only want you always asking from them. They want you to ask, or they want to be able to ask of you as well. So we're doing, you can show 30 gift bags of something, whatever. And for all the people who share this the most can get one of these bags. You got to really sort of like incentivize them participating. In this environment, it is probably not safe to consider a focus group because that's typically more face-to-face. But like we are doing a Zoom class, you could also do a free Zoom focus group. If you could get enough people to participate. So you're not going to just post up something on Facebook and say, join the Zoom call. You've got to probably send out 10 to 20 teasers about what to expect, join the call, great resources, blah, 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 blah. You can still generate paper questionnaires. I just don't know how you would go about collecting them in this day and time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so it's time now. Oh, any questions?
No.
All right. So the general market research is not complicated if you have all of the right tools at hand. It becomes a little bit easier and easier as you go through the process. But give me a second. I want to make sure I got this fantastic video I want to show you all.
Okay.
There is some sound business logic to understanding why you go through the right research to figure out how you should subscribe to being a business owner. It's got a whole lot more to do with market demand and understanding how the market is performing than anything to do with how great you are. I hate to say it. Because Bucharest is still alive, and I often wonder why.
Yes, me too.
I mean, I was a chicken
like Bucharest.
I love their hummus. I love their grape leaves. I love their chicken shawarma, but I hate their customer service.
Yeah, terrible.
And it's not consistent. I've had undercooked chicken at least twice. I was like, I can't go back.
Oh no, that'll kill you.
I mean, the girls are cute, but that is not what I'm there for. So excuse me.
Right.
All right, we're gonna take a quick look at this 15-minute video, just under 15 minutes, and then we'll reconvene. Oh wait. I forgot, guys. I'm supposed to maximize the audio so you can actually hear it. I neglected to do that this time.
Night. It's a small space. It's been challenging. Tiny cupcake shop with a big idea. You walk in, you pick your cupcake out, you pick your topping. Tony's Mini should be raking in the dough, but it's not. There's $134,000 worth of debt. His biggest investor is his wife.
To the point that I'm not giving any more money.
Tony's bakery is cramped and chaotic. Sales are down. Right now we're losing money every day, and so I'm trying to stop the bleeding. And the debt keeps rising.
I didn't know about all those people that we owe money to.
If I can't find a winning recipe for Tony, we're closing the store.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
His relationship and his business will crumble. You don't always think things through.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Welcome to Tony's. First time here?
Yeah.
Tony Rozier has always loved to bake, and he learned the craft from his mother. In 2006, he opened his first bakery in New York City, and he was able to land big accounts with retailers like Macy's and Bloomingdale's. But his business skills, well, they were half-baked.
My little loss is to a notice of cancellation.
Didn't I just pay that yesterday?
Tony was constantly borrowing money from his wife to cover rent and payroll.
What's the plan to recoup the money and at least break even?
He's already been forced to shut down 2 stores. And his current shop, well, it's already losing money.
We are at a breaking point.
The gourmet cupcake business is still thriving, and it's a business I know well. And while fixing Tony's Minis won't be a cakewalk, he's got an idea that I've never seen before. A build-your-own cupcake. Inwood is at the northern tip of Manhattan. It's an up-and-coming neighborhood with a lot of renovation, and there's a lot of new restaurants and new retail, and you feel like it's really growing. But Tony's Minis has the worst retail entrance I've ever seen. I mean, there's scaffolding everywhere. Places on either side of them look like they're in really bad shape. This build-your-own cupcake better be great. How you doing?
How are you?
Are you Tony?
I am.
I'm Marcus.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice
sir.
to meet
Pleasure
you.
to meet you.
It's a small space.
Yes, it's been challenging.
I'm expecting to find a bright, fun retail environment. And what I end up seeing is low display and a bunch of packaged cupcakes that are made in the back. It's crowded. It's not inviting. I mean, who would want to come here?
How are you? Good. Welcome to Tony's today. What can I do for you today?
Let me get the cream cheese.
Can I offer you a cupcake, Marcus? Same time?
You surprised me. So that's the base?
Traditionally, you walk in. Marcus, you have much... another guy named Marcus. Marcus, you have my strawberry bag?
No, it should be in the front.
Never mind, I got it. So the beauty of Tony's Minis is you walk in, you pick your cupcake out, you pick your topping.
I like it. It means make your own cupcake, essentially.
Are you a cupcake eater?
Yes, actually. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Take care. Cupcake's good. Always happy to hear
The
that.
frosting's good. The process seemed a little non-existent. I would have thought there would have been a bit of an assembly line, like base, frosting, topping. I don't necessarily see that. Tony's idea of a build-your-own cupcake, quite frankly, is phenomenal. But the idea I thought I was coming for, I just don't see. Somebody takes a cake off a rack, and then the toppings are like hidden under the counter. I mean, it's terrible. How much is this in this location?
Average is $500 a day.
What are your margins?
$500.
Cupcake costs me $1/4 to make.
Wrapper, frosting, labor, everything?
So
One cupcake, what does that cost to make?
So the cost of the cupcake will be closer to 33 cents.
Are you
estimating?
I wouldn't call it estimating. I'm gonna call it guesstimating.
To say?
What are you selling for?
Starting at $225.
Okay, you're selling $500 a day worth, and you and I do a deal and we sell $5,000 a day worth. I still want to know what it costs to make one. If it costs Tony 33 cents to make a cupcake and he sells it for $2.25, he's got great margin. The worry here is that he's shaky on his numbers. And at $500 a day in sales, there is no room for error. It's kind of a tight space.
So oven?
This is the only oven you have?
This is the only oven I have, yeah.
There is no workflow in this place. And it's cramped and it's hard to maneuver. And their ingredients are just stored randomly everywhere. I don't know how they've been able to bake here.
Hi, Marcus. Tamika.
Tamika, nice to meet you.
You too.
How are you? Are you the sister?
Yes.
I'd love to kind of spend a few minutes with you if you don't mind.
Okay.
Who's the manager here?
I'm on again, off again.
Walk me through that.
I worked for like really, really low pay, which was okay with
For
me.
how long?
Like a year.
Wow. Tony's basically relying on free labor. And the fact that his sister is willing to help out shows that he has real backing from his family. That's a big advantage when you're struggling. So who's doing the quality control on this kind of stuff?
Myself and Tony.
Yourself? So do you think this looks right?
No, that one's not going out.
I don't want to see paper. This wouldn't clear.
And the more we go
This
through,
wouldn't
we
clear. And
realize
so
how
this
much
is
is
money.
wasted.
When this happens, two from the same batch, same time, there's no process.
And let me tell you, I have fought with my brother on this process.
Why are you fighting with him? Why aren't you just fixing it? Does he listen to you?
No.
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 That looks nice. Are you a professional cake decorator?
Yeah.
It's a small space to work, no? And is Tony easy to work with?
Yeah.
And how about her? Is she mean?
No, she's...
Hi, how are you? What kind of cupcake would you like? You want a strawberry twist? All right, so your total's gonna be $750.
How many staff members do you have?
12. Lauren will be the one who'll be in the front.
Hi, are you? Hi. Hi,
That's
Lauren.
Lauren.
How are you?
Good, nice
Very
to meet
nice
you.
to meet you. Are you a baker?
When I have to be.
So what is your primary role here?
I'm in the front selling the product.
Okay, great. Nice meeting you.
You too. Thank you.
So there's a lot going on with Tony's Minis right now as we speak. I'm doing a project in Newark that's close to being finalized. The people who are giving me the space, they're building out the store.
At their expense?
At their expense. So what I have to supply is equipment, the first month's deposit, working capital.
And they're giving you the money to do that?
You're loaning me the money to do that.
Do you feel like you're ready for more expansion?
I am now.
The only time a business should be expanding is when it's totally proven out its model. You have the product right, you have the right people, you have the right process, and it makes money. So good idea people are good, but good idea people that don't know how to execute can be very lethal to a business. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm Marinee.
Are you Tony's wife?
Yes, I am.
Hey, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
You want to help taking your coat off?
Thank you.
You got it.
What a gentleman.
What do you think of the store?
I think it needs an upgrade. That's why I wrote you.
Oh, okay. Tony, I thought it was you.
No, it was her.
The business aspect of it has placed a lot of stress on our marriage. It's to the point that I'm not giving any more money.
How much money do you have invested in this business?
Like $250,000.
$250,000 is what Berenice has put into that business. That money is Gone.
All together. We've been together over 10 years now, so different things, help with the rent, help with materials, and...
Did you win the lotto or something?
No, I'm trying to support him in order so the business could take off.
Okay.
I think he needs you. I think he needs your expertise. If he hears it from you, maybe he'll take...
He doesn't listen to you?
Not all the time. Not quite.
Tony doesn't listen to his wife, who's invested a ton of money. He doesn't listen to his sister, who works there virtually for free. How do I know he's going to listen to me? And so, cupcake tastes great, but the fact that you don't know what it costs to make it is disturbing, because you don't really know if you're making money here or not. What does it cost you to open up the place every day?
The rent would be $100 a day.
All the employees, how much do they cost a day?
Average day is $180.
How about the electricity?
$75 a day.
How about the insurance? How about maintenance? How about office supplies? How about the phone? You're already well over $350. With $500 a day in revenue, if you factor in all of the operating costs, plus baked goods, paper supplies, etc., he's already operating at a loss. Tony's been in business for 12 years, and he still struggles with the basics. But the big question for me is he willing to do what it takes to save the business and pay his wife back? I think the worry that I have is that you have two people, one's your sister, one's your wife, and not listening to them. What confidence would I even have in the fact that you listen to me, you don't listen to them?
But if someone is coming in that I think has done it before, it just gives me a different perspective.
We're going to do a little math. The total revenue that it shows on this P&L is $250,000 for the year, and you lost $76,000. There's the $250,000 that you put in. For this discussion, I consider that equity. Because you guys are married, it's your business. It's the fact that you own today 100% of the business.
I agree.
There's $134,000 that is owed to other people. So what do we owe other people?
Payroll tax is $11,000. Federal state tax, $35,000. There's $15,000 in arrears, of which is February rent and water escrow, and then late fees.
$15,000?
Then there's Denise, $12,000. Robert is $25,000. My mom for $13,000. Michelle for $7,000.
Wait a minute. Is this for her services, or she lent you money?
No, this is her loaning me the money. Then there's $10,000. So is the person who I borrow money from, and he picks up a weekly payment for me.
Like a loan shark?
Yes.
It can be tough for a business like Tony's to get a bank loan. Virtually impossible. So you end up going to small lenders with very high interest rates. And if you can't pay them back, their methods of collecting are very unorthodox, often dangerous. This is a much bigger number of debt than I originally thought for a single location bakery. What's wrong?
We don't need to watch a divorce happening real time.
Wow. Wow.
Look at Lori's face.
My first question, Laura, before we talk about the business, is: are you just trying to make us really hungry and fat in this class?
Second one, right?
It's always easier when you look at storefront retail. You're gonna have clothing or food. It's just the easiest business model.
2 weeks about chocolate and cupcakes. Come on.
Yeah, right. I hadn't thought of that, Lori, but you're right. So, give me some feedback. What were some things that you saw immediately that were stopgaps? Is there not enough data in the marketplace for you to know when things are going in the wrong direction? There are too many resources that should have told him, right? The narrative started off that he had multiple locations.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he lost the multiple locations, and look at where he was still ended up. Did that look like a place you wanted to go to get cupcakes?
No, it wasn't inviting at all.
No.
No.
And just the location strategy was backwards with all the scaffolding and boarded up and graffiti. That's like Dexter. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, did you say Dexter?
Yes, I did. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
So what were some of your observations? What did you see?
Confusion. He was lost.
No process, right?
None.
And no organization whatsoever.
Don't you think for a bakery, a cupcake space, there are probably enough opportunities for you to actually figure out what is, he's got commercial grade mixers. He should know the yield, the consistency, the output, how long it takes to bake it. There should be process. And you
has
could do a Google on trends.
Yeah, he has recipes. He knows the yield of the batter, how much goes in a paper cup to fill it up to the top. I mean, I know that. I ain't no Betty Crocker.
The amount of waste that the amount of waste that he's blowing through.
Oh, too much product waste.
He doesn't listen to the investors, which is his wife,
right,
and
his sister who works for free.
Yes, and
it
Vito.
looks like he has a lot of immigrants who work for him, and they're like, yeah, no, you're okay. That's how he ended up with 12 employees. How do you have 12 employees and you're only making $500 a day?
Right.
Right.
They're not full-time employees. They probably just come and go.
Are they even part-time, Deb? What kind of part-time? 2 hours a week? Run those numbers.
I know, right?
But one thing I thought was really good was that obviously his product is very scalable because there are so many people interested in it. I mean,
that's right.
Macy's, Bloomingdale's, you know what I mean? Like those are huge accounts. But
he lost them all.
Get his,
he lost them all, but because of his process more than anything. But
he couldn't
there
deliver.
was something that got them there.
Right.
Yes.
Even the investor who wanted to do the build out, the next location with him. I mean, there's still interest, but he's just underwater.
So much so that he's going to take on additional debt, and not New York, but Newark, New Jersey. He's going to move across the border and do it again.
Newark. Who goes to Newark?
Him, apparently.
Yes.
But this is the part that I like people to pay attention to. There are a lot of downsides to his display, but believe it or not, it's the same passion that a lot of entrepreneurs have. They just keep grinding. They just keep grinding. They're on that Energizer Buddy thing and hook or crook to the point that I got a long shark coming every week, taking on the business.
I don't want to see Vito every week. No.
A long shark coming every week.
Yeah, he was getting weight. What he was doing was he would get into one debt, and then trying to clear that debt, he got into another debt with somebody else. He was just getting way in over his head.
And his wife knows nothing. She knows absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And
he gave
let me tell you something else. Let me tell you something else that's pretty blaring. He probably hasn't filed tax returns in some time for his wife not to know the financial position.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll be getting those letters soon. He had to give me a call.
Yeah, right.
Well, he owed taxes. Remember, he owed some.
Yeah, he owed taxes.
No, but that's not from a tax return. Those are payroll taxes, which you owe whether you file taxes or not. Yeah, that's to the Treasury Department for what is allocated for employees.
Yeah, those are even worse. That's even worse because then you're actually stealing money.
And all the fines and fees that go with that. Oh my God.
Yes.
So, I mean, believe it or not, a lot of businesses jump out there because they don't do the due diligence. First off, something should have told him, if I'm only making $500 a day, and let's just give him grace and say he's operating 30 days a week, so I could take that 500 times 30 times 12, and I'm only bringing in about $180,000 in a year.
And he's already $250,000 in debt.
So,
his wife. That's before he goes out the house. He's $250,000 in debt.
Which is why you're constantly trying to play catch up. But either your prices for the product are wrong, your inventory controls, which we know are wrong, right? Your rent is too high, your labor is too high. there's some things that are very disjointed, and if he understood trends in his own space, he would know that there should be a 70-30 split. He needs to know that that baked good product has, for every dollar that I make, I get to keep 70 cents on a dollar for the baked goods.
Yes.
But he doesn't know that. So he doesn't know where to go back and repair or fix his problem. And that's another reason why Marcus likes to go over what we call low-hanging fruit, because he sees that there's demand for the product. He sees that the marketplace is responding very positively, even though he's Bucharest in my mind.
Yeah, they're expanding too.
I don't know what they do to their chicken, but it's good. The chicken is pretty good. The customer service sucks. The consistency is not great, but if you catch them on the right day, I don't know what that butter sauce is that won't heat up. It's pretty okay. So when you look at process and things like that, some of it, again, has little to do with you, but that's why you need to lean on managerial controls, right? That's why you need to have systems and process in place, right?
Yes.
That's why you need to understand what cash management tools you need to have on hand, right? And a very small portion of the delivery is actually you and your grandmother's recipe or your mother's recipe. A good portion of it is leaning on financial acuity, managerial, fit, and your capacity to actually pivot when necessary. Apparently my prices aren't right. And that setup, did you guys see that? He had different types of shakers. One was like a salt shaker.
Yes.
One was another like a sugar shaker. He couldn't find where the frosting tube was. Where's the front? You got, it's over here, down here near the floor. Let me get this and just swirl that.
Right. No.
If you go back and you look at what Marcus did to his whole organization, he shut him down for 3 weeks. He went in and he gutted the entire location. He allowed him to stay right where he was because he changed the marketing technique to incorporate other business footprints. So if they're high rises and locations with a lot of employees who have lunch breaks, let's make sure that we provide, almost like a DoorDash service. With customized cupcakes. You got board meetings. It's a very complimentary thing to offer coffee and cupcakes.
Right.
So he had to revisit his business model and really remove him as the obstacle from the business. Remember I mentioned in some of the objectives, looking at the obstacles. Sometimes a visionary can be blinded by my total demand and my capacity for my own greatness. Move out, world, let me do what I do. And that's totally, he doesn't listen to anyone.
Right.
So much so that he has a loan shark relationship. I don't know what I would do if I were his wife.
Kill him first. I'd kill him first.
I'd be like, have you heard of Hoffa?
Right.
You're about to go friend. There are a lot of things that you can glean from trying to better understand that the average business that participates in my market has an annual revenue cycle of this. They have this number of employees. Their burn rate looks like this. Their capitalization typically looks like this. There are too many data points and resources that will allow you to understand what are benchmarks and averages for how you should participate in the marketplace. There's not a lot of guesswork to it, unless of course you're bringing something brand new to the market that no one else has ever done.
Right.
Use the research for what the intent is. Research how the houses actually operate. If you're going to open up a child care center, it's easy to understand that there are very thin margins. I don't know if you guys know that, but a child care center has less than a 10% margin, a 10% profit margin. And and that's typically because it's all subsidized. They're using vouchers and grants and right? They're very rarely charging the parents a full, $175 a week. So some of the money is coming from Department of Health and Human Services, or they're getting a grant from First Children Finance. But if those grants were removed, they all be upside down too. I know for a fact. I've written so many of them. They have really slim margins, but they're comfortable with that. Why? Because they've been able to create a business that first they can pay themselves and they can pay their employees. Their meals are covered, their rent is covered, and whatever little extra is left over, it's great. Now what do I do with it? Do I pay taxes on it, or do I reinvest it in the business? Do I give people a raise? They feel successful. If that is your area of comfort, so be it. But if you were to look at the research also says that childcare centers traditionally have to go to untraditional lenders for funding because they don't cash flow well. So why do food businesses have to traditionally go to alternative funds of capital? Why is that?
Don't flow well.
Because they write business plans based on how great they are, and there's too much static data in the marketplace that tells you that one of the first types of businesses to go under is a food business. So the risk assessment is weighty. It's just way too weighty for them to want to dive in behind a food business. So they want to see that there are other people with skin in the game before a bank is really ready to take you on. You have to perform almost with a micro lender really well before they would be interested in jumping in and letting you try your process out on them. So that's why I really lean heavy on do the research first. Look at the trade periodicals, look at the trade publications, look at the trade shows, call suppliers. And I mean, if I were going to open up a restaurant and I'm going to compete against Lafayette, Coney or American Coney, I'm going to ask those bun manufacturers, how many cases of buns do you send to Lafayette? So if you send 12 cases a week, and there are 8 buns, and how many? It's 12 packs in a case. I got an idea how many Conies they're selling in a week's period of time, right? So do the due diligence to sort of understand how you can enter this marketplace, because the more girded you are with right information, the more realistic your performance, the greater your capacity to be successful, versus asking people to just believe in you. It's not that they don't want to believe in you, but we also know that startup businesses fail at a greater rate, or just much greater rate than anyone else. But if you gird yourself with the right research, you can really start to shore off a lot of that, the unknown area. So I think ProsperUS is a great training program, but it's limited because you still need to be able to go and research for yourself what the market yield looks like. So I'm going to take a real quick review of those support documents that you should look at. And he sent quite a bit. I haven't been in there for a minute, but I want to look at it for you all, because session 3 probably has the most attachments.
I had walked up for a second. What were you saying?
I'm looking for the participant folder. I don't know what I did with the email. I hope I didn't delete it, but I may have. Let me see.
Section 3.
Let me see if I stored it away. I did. I stored it away. So in your session 3 PUD document or attachment, there is quite a bit of information in here. Let's just look at some of it. Oh wait, this is just your wait. Is this the curriculum? Let me see.
PDF.
Yeah, this is your curriculum. I don't want to look at 6 pages of your curriculum.
So just about that 63 pages, what I think we're just discovering this class that's like a textbook. I don't know that we understood that before.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
so
okay.
yeah, those are the.
From looking at that, we should read that like before the class, and that's like the information that we need to understand.
Yeah, before or after. I mean, yeah. So if you're able to get to it before, that would be great, and it would help probably so that you're not doing a lot of head nodding and going in one ear and out the other. Absolutely. But you'll probably read it yet again by the time you get in. So you'll want to look at it all over again. So here they're asking you, do you understand your actual unique market or your niche market? Who are your customer groups? Are they, professionals? Who's the decision maker? Are they parents? Are they seniors? Blah, 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 blah. Do they belong to association clubs? And if they do, is it a Rotary? Is it the church? What lifestyle characteristics, like what do they like to read? Are they reading The Pioneer? Oh, wait, let me tell you. This particular attachment is like 6 years old because they marketed, or this is actually catered to the Minnesota-Minneapolis area. So disregard some of the magazine selections and just use what you know here. So is it going to be, Detroit Parents, or is it going to be the Detroit Smart Pages? Yeah, all that. They're asking you to categorize and identify this individual, like we talked about creating an avatar. What are their favorite newspaper sections? What radio stations do they listen to? Do they fall in one of these subcategories? What are their hobbies? Where do they currently purchase their products and services? Same things that we looked at when we looked at the actual business model canvas. Here, for every industry, believe it or not, if I were to ask you what phase of business are grocery stores in, are they in the birth generation, the growth generation, the maturity phase, or the decline phase? Does anybody know?
I said decline.
They're on the decline side of things. Grocery stores are starting to shrink, and you notice them an awful lot in just urban markets, right? It's not that difficult. So if the business you're bringing to fruition based on the trend data that you've researched, you should be able to identify, is it birth, is it growth, is it maturity?
Okay.
And then if that's the case, what did the periodicals or general market information tell you about their sales before taxes? How many companies are participating in this area? Past, present, and future outlook. So if you go to the right spaces, you can use this worksheet, which would then be dumped directly into your business plan. They want to know how few of them are in the market, how many companies are participating in the market, on and on and on. All that data that we did in the first 45 minutes or so, you will find all that right in here. There are a few other worksheets. Let me look at them real fast. Here's your promotional strategy, which is how do you actually reach your clients? What marketing campaign will you use? Boyd gave you something that similarweb.com might actually teach you how to do an e-commerce strategy. And what method of publicity will you use? What your sales promotion will be? What public relations? Is it going to be direct marketing, or are you going to do direct selling? Blah 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 blah. We can help you dig through these, maybe more so on a one-on-one. And then potential organizational customers. These would then be customers who are not, regular households, but other businesses, right? So if you plan to do business with another business, then these are organizational customers, like school systems, hospitals, churches, what have you. And you can have a compilation of the two, but the strategies are different. Now, they gave you a business checklist, which is really lengthy, and it's only lengthy because they've actually compiled every potential, or not every, but most of the businesses that ProsperUS has to date worked with. So if you're not a home-based catering company, then this is not your checklist. You are seeing this, right?
No.
We're seeing you.
I'm getting it, and I'm just going through all these documents, and you guys can't see anything.
No, we're looking at